A pleasant good morning to everyone. We are here for a webinar on significance of civil engineering as a profession conducted amidst all this COVID-19 situation by the ASCE Department of FISAT College in collaboration with Construction Philosophy. For this event, we have three eminent speakers. First, I would like to welcome Engineer Surya Prakash, an eminent engineer, consultant, and a mentor who has made significant contribution in civil engineering. He obtained his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from JNT UK in 1986. He did MS in construction in 1990 from IIT Madras. He authored a book on design and implementation of communication towers. The CapFAT software developed by him won the ACCE CDC Best Software Award in 2007. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Nebu Abraham, editor and publisher at Construction Philosophy. Construction and property development professional with over 18 years experience in development, operation, construction and design environment, managing and developing projects. Now, I welcome Engineer Shaiju Nair, who is an expert in concrete technology having 22 years of industry experience. Envisioned in the betterment of the industry, he had initiated a program for the aspiring engineers for uplifting their skills and knowledge. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to Construction Philosophy's exclusive webinar in association with American Society of Civil Engineers and Federal Institute of Science and Technology, FISAT. Today's topic is civil engineering as a challenging profession and the role of a civil engineer in developing a better world. While discussing about the significance of the trade, we must also know the role of the industry in boosting the country's economy. Of course, construction industry plays a major part in the economic growth with a share of about 8%. The increase in the average contribution is 0.1% compared to the previous financial year. What does all these numbers indicate? It shows that you are flooded with opportunities. On the other side, a recent survey indicates that 80% of the engineers in the country are not employable. Reasons can be many, but we must at this juncture give it a thought and get prepared ourselves. Industry needs people with good skills and caliber. You need to know the industry's requirement and get yourself updated to various new technologies and methodologies. For that, you need to know what solution, which software is inevitable in the current market scenario. Dear friends, trust me, you are here for a good purpose. Building a beautiful world is your primary responsibility. We have laid the foundation and you are to continue the journey towards fulfillment. We have Engineer Surya Prakash here today to give you a broader picture of the industry and the industry requirements. Engineer Surya Prakash is a mentor for many successful professionals and business people. In fact, you are all honored by his presence today. Please be observant and try to get maximum benefit out of the lecture. In the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns, please raise your hand and we would allow you to speak. Now let me welcome Engineer Surya Prakash to share his thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. So today I'm going to share my favorite topic, that is civil engineering profession as a challenging career. So this topic I have been talking to students of civil engineering for last 30 years. So because I am also a civil engineer like all of you, it's been my passion to share my experiences with budding civil engineers so that they are motivated, better motivated, and they have understanding of our profession in clear terms. As we all know, it's our tradition to remember our elders whenever we do this kind of educative sessions. And the senior most and most coveted civil engineer in our country is Bharat Ratna Sir Mokshagunam Visvesvaraya. He has led a very illustrative career, and he is the role model for all of us to take cue from what he has done in civil engineering. It's very good if you all can refer to his biography. He was given the title of Bharat Ratna. Is the only civil engineer so far in our country to be coveted with that title. And he had a long cherished life of 100 plus years, and he has been working till the last breath. So you can see the video also, his kind of projects he has done in the length and breadth of our country. And he has crossed the boundaries of civil engineering actually. He is a great civil engineer. Apart from that, he has gone into irrigation, industry, finance. So many cities he has saved from flooding and all that. So we must emulate such great people. So he is the one who has done his graduation from Pune University those days. And he was heading Mysore state as a Diwan of the state, means minister, equivalent to a minister. He has grown to that level. Next great personality is Padma Bhushan Dr. K.L. Rao, popularly known as K.L. Rao. And he also, though he was not a civil engineer, he joined irrigation department in the civil department. Those days, civil department, civil engineering people, there used to be shortage actually. So mechanical engineer K.L. Rao has joined civil engineering, and he has grown to the level of a central minister after joining the government department. So now he is the man who was coveted with Padma Bhushan. Next is Padma Bhushan Dr. A. Ramakrishna, more popularly known as L&T Ramakrishna. And he joined a private company like L&T those days in 1960s. And he joined as assistant engineer and grown to the level of joint managing director of a 1 lakh crore conglomerate, L&T. So he's a man with vision and passion in civil engineering. So like we all join any company, he joined, and he has taken it as a passion. And when he joined the company, it was about 100 crore turnover, and now he has taken it to the level of 1 lakh crores. And in India, most of the metro projects or airports, any name the mega project, it is L&T, because people like him have contributed to the growth of that company. So if civil engineers have that vision and passion, we can grow to that level, even in a private company. This is what I wanted to share. Now, you all know this great man, Padma Vibhushan, Dr. E. Sridharan. He is from Cochin, was born in 1932, and is living legend. And he is more popularly known as Metro Man. And he joined railways as assistant executive engineer again. He started his career with Pamban Bridge, and he worked in Kolkata for metro project, and then Konkan Railways as a chief engineer, and then he is elevated as managing director of Delhi Metro. And he was not allowed to retire by across the parties like BJP, Congress, any party, because engineers have no parties. We have projects. So he could deliver the projects. So any metro in our country, it is the Delhi Metro or engineer Sridharan who has to support. So again, this is another example of with passion, career with passion. You can grow to that level. He is active now also. Anybody who wants to deliver a project, he has to consult engineer Sridharan. So I give these people's example to emulate for the any civil engineer actually. You have to work hard. So now you can see he's 88 and still active, advising people. I had the opportunity to interact with this great man also. So now let us look at some of the projects delivered by civil engineers in our country. So this is a bus station, as you can see, constructed in Vadodara recently, of late, about 4 or 5 years back. You can see the quality of the project that is delivered. This is after completing. So this is the interiors of a bus station. And next we have Indian engineers have raised to the occasion of delivering Golden Quadrilateral. 70,000 kilometers of highways in a span of 4 years were delivered. And now also every day, if the central minister talks about delivering 28 kilometers per day highways, it is our engineers who are working, whether it is in NHA or infra companies or consulting companies. So we are behind such a great contribution to the transportation in our country. And many of you would have seen this. This is the Bandra Worli ceiling bridge, such a nicely designed by our Indian engineers, constructed by HCC, Hindustan Construction Company. So this is the longer view. It's nowhere less than any of the foreign countries. So we are raising in terms of delivery of quality of the projects, and this is rated as one of the top 10 infrastructure projects in our country. So this is the Bandra Worli ceiling bridge. The complexity, it is crossing the sea. We have constructed this kind of bridge, and now phase 2 construction is going on. And this is a trumpet interchange near Delhi airport. So this also is designed by and constructed by our own Indian engineers. So this is the underground tunnel in Delhi Metro. You can see the quality of precasting and quality of delivery that is done, and again by our own civil engineers in our country only. So this is Delhi Metro, one of the only 4 metros in the world out of 150 metros to have made operational profit. And the man behind is our engineer Sridharan, great man. So he has conceived, he has delivered the project, and this is during construction, some of the photographs. And now we have airports. India is probably the only country across the world building so many airports at a time. 200 airports we are adding. And who will do the design construction of such airports? Now our own engineers. So this is the Hyderabad airport. I am just showing as an example, one of the best airports in the category of 5 million passengers per annum across the world. In fact, 20 years back, 22 years back, when I traveled first abroad, seeing the airports there, I used to think why our country doesn't have that kind of infrastructure. And today, I go abroad, I feel like coming back to our country because we have better infrastructure than other countries in terms of airports or metro. We are building the best of the infrastructure in the world, and we should take part in it. And we can do better and best only if we work with passion. So this is the photograph of the airport during the night. And next, irrigation. India is building one of the largest irrigation projects in the world now. Like in Telangana, in the state I am working from, we have Kaleswaram. The project cost is 80,000 crores. So it's like $10 billion, $12 billion is the cost of the project. And we are adding Polavaram, which is again 60,000 crores project. So mega irrigation projects handling 500 TMC water and all that. So it is all done by our own engineers in the current time. And we have built so many Bakra Nangal and Nagarjun Sagar, so many huge projects, Hydel projects we have done in Himachal Pradesh. 5,000 megawatts of Hydel we have built in Himachal Pradesh recently. About 5 years back, it is inaugurated. So Indian engineers are working for such major projects. And this is irrigation, command area development, distribution channels. So we involve in these projects. I'm just showing you all types of projects just to give you an example of where engineers can work and where engineers can contribute to our humanity. And the power generation, like in Telangana, last 5 years, we have added 10,000 megawatts of power, the thermal power. So engineers, every part of the power project, engineers, civil engineers involved in the design, in the construction, in the power transmission, everything, distribution also. So this is one of the interesting structures in power plant called cooling tower. This is a hyperbolic paraboloid shell, and it is a 300 mm thick concrete actually, with 100-meter tall, with a reducing dia and increasing dia. Imagine the construction, how the formwork has to be built, taken to that level using jump form, slip form kind of technologies, formwork technologies, and precision in construction. I don't know how many of you would have seen in WhatsApp, there was a video circulating collapse of such a cooling tower because of imperfection. There are so many hundreds of cooling towers. Probably one of them would have failed due to imperfection in the shape, because any shell structure is sensitive to the shape of the structure. So this kind of challenging structures we design and we execute. Wind power. This is actually photographed in Kanyakumari, near Kanyakumari only. So I was traveling from Trivandrum to Kanyakumari for the nuclear power project. This is a nice renewable energy, wind turbines. In India, we are also handling this kind of renewable energy, solar power, wind power, hydel power, wave energy. In Trivandrum only, the first prototype was implemented in Trivandrum, wave energy project. So this kind of projects, we civil engineers are involved in challenging. And next is the industry, which is the backbone. This is a cement plant. You can see how many structures are there in which we contribute to the design and the construction of the heavy industry. And next, the most important, housing. India is now harping on housing for all by 2022. So we are building 2 crore houses across the country. So it is the engineers who contribute. Even I have my own contribution in conceptualizing such projects. So imagine the planning, scheduling of this kind of projects. We are seeing now the problem of migrant labor, and by using technology, we can reduce the deployment of labor and all. This is what we can contribute as civil engineers, saving the troubles of people, converting the traditional conventional methods to technology, which I am working on. And high-rise buildings. This is a residential tower constructed in Mumbai, a 60-story tower by our Indian engineers and Indian contractor. So this is our background to inspire ourselves. So we have seen the great people, we have seen the great projects. Now let us understand where we are. What is civil engineering? I'm sure most of you wouldn't have come across this definition of civil engineering, which I'm telling today. We have seen the oldest civilizations across the world and in India also, like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, the Indus civilization. And civil engineering has been there, whether we called it civil engineering or not, but we have built structures, and the engineers have been contributing to the civilizations across. And we have seen these civilizations vanished, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, because they depended on Indus River, which changed its course. And if you see in our country, most of the cities, not only in our country, across the world, whether it is UK or France, Paris, all the great cities, New York, every city will be around the river. Because olden days, they used to fetch water from the river and live. That was the sustainability. Now we have built, we are pumping the water to 200 kilometers, 300 kilometers. But those days, because of the change in the monsoon course and river course, the civilizations have vanished. That's what today we talk about sustainability of civilization. And we civil engineers cater to that. So in the olden days, we used to call Vastu Shastra in our country. That is nothing but civil engineering, actually. Though we have converted into superstition or anything, but it was all engineering. It was civil engineers who have drafted that those days. And next we have seen in Europe, Roman times and all that, we have seen master builders. They used to call them master builders. And then now we are calling ourselves civil engineers. So I'll go back to that definition of civil engineers. So what is meant by engineer? How the word engineer has come? Actually, it originated from the word called ingenium or ingenia. This is from French word actually, which means a device or a machine. In the former, or contrive, or device in the latter. So ingenium is an interesting word in and of itself. This is from Wikipedia actually. It became common in early English to mean cleverness or siege engines of any kind. So that is how the word engineer has emanated. This word engineer is as young as 200 years only. Prior to that, they used to call master builders. So again, the ancient Indian engineering called Vastu Shastra. The Sanskrit word Vastu means a dwelling or house. So they have built the houses as late as Indus civilization. Vriddhi or Vastu takes the meaning of the site or foundation of a house. This is also from Wikipedia. Site, ground, building or dwelling, place, habitation, homestead, house. That is the meaning of Vastu actually. So the underlying root is vas, to dwell, live, stay, reside. The term Shastra, we all know loosely, we translate it to doctrine or teaching or science. So that is what is Vastu Shastra. So we had civil engineering as old as 3,000, 4,000 years. And master builders in Europe, the term has also been applied to more broadly, including designers and builders of large-scale construction work who learned their trade in a more formal way than builders of primitive forms. So this is the origin of our engineering actually. The phrase has been used since at least as early as 16th, 17th century actually, master builder. So at that time we were not called civil engineers. So now the civil engineering, the current day we are using the word civil engineering. The basic duty of the civil engineers is to provide amenities for comfortable living. So whatever we are enjoying today, whether it is a network, communication or power or a building, air conditioning, lighting, everything we are behind. Engineers are behind to design and to execute. So don't we agree that it needs the best people as it is the keys to the country's economy? We are all civil engineers. So we have to be the best. So I want you to say S in your chat box. Whoever agree with my statement now. So you please say yes, type S or just S in the chat box. I will see who all have agreed, and then I will talk to the people who have not agreed and what they have. Or you can discuss with me towards the end of the session what you feel about civil engineers. So this is my statement today. Civil engineering caters to provide best amenities for comfortable living. And hence, because we all have to live comfortably, so we all have to be the best people. We have chosen to be civil engineering. Like our custom, our Indian custom, once we are married, we have to live throughout the life. So whether we liked or not, you are at least marrying civil engineering now. So let us live with this civil engineering till the end, and let us make ourselves best in civil engineering. This is my statement. So as we move forward, ingenuity means clever, creative, creativity, imagination, imaginative, ingenious, innovative, invention, inventive, and original. So we all have to be original people in civil engineering. It requires. So what is meant by engineering? Again, I'm defining technically. Engineering is an analytical science. What is science? Science is knowledge or information about nature around us, about the natural forces. That is the science. We understand wind, we understand light, we understand forces, statics. That is all science. And we use that science analytically to apply to benefit of civilization or humanity. That is engineering actually. This is my technical definition. Then what is technology? We have concrete technology, we have construction technology. So why do we call that technology? What is difference between engineering and technology? So the technology is a methodical science. Methods, we deal with methods in technology. because we make something, concrete we make, construction we make. So that is, you need methods, and it is a methodical science. Again, we use science in technology also, nurtured into an art by an engineer. Again, or technology can be done by engineers. So we convert this engineering into an art or science into an art by methodically implementing. So what is an art according to us? A music or an art. Artist, by practice, he becomes better artist. Similarly, an engineer becomes better technologist by adopting the engineering principles. So this is about the definition of engineering and technology. So how civil world has come into engineering actually? Prior to 200 years, there were so many branches of engineering, only one engineering master builders. And then people started using engineering apart from our living for fighting also. So then they started calling that as a military engineering, whichever is used in the wars. So in military, they required mechanical equipment and all. So to differentiate the engineering that deals with civilians, they called civil engineering, and the engineering that deals with wars, they called military engineering. So there were only two branches about 100, 150 years back. So slowly now that military engineering started branching into so many parts like electronics, electrical, computers now, or IT, so many branches, but civil remains, because civilization won't change. Civilization is basic. So we deal with the sustainable development of civilization. That is civil engineering. So do we all now accept the definition of civil engineer? We deal with civilization. Then what is a profession and what is a challenge? So I always call civil engineering as a profession. So I want all of you to understand the difference between a professional and a normal person. Who is a normal person according to us? Who is working as a clerk? Who is working as a typist? Who is working in even IT nowadays? I don't call them professionals. Professional is the one who grows with practice. Like I am a professional. So the professionals are engineers. So engineers, I always compare with our film heroes. It is easy to understand. You can name the hero who is the best hero now in our country. He is the oldest man. We have Amitabh Bachchan or Rajinikanth or Mammootty or these people. So these are all grown up. Only when they have grown up, they have become the best, because they are in professionals, acting professionals. So similarly, we are civil engineering professionals. Another good analogy for engineers is a comparison between a natural stone, granite, and vitrified tile. So vitrified tile shines like a banking officer. Let's not compare ourselves with any of the other jobs. That's what I'm trying to say. The professionals will start low because we have to learn to become professional. So we practice 4 years, 5 years, then we become real professional, Unless we work for 4, 5 years, we are not really professionals. We'll work as clerks only. So if you want to remain as a clerk, you cannot grow as you move forward. If you want to work as a professional, you have to understand the concept of engineering and work. So, but still, in this profession, we have challenges. That's what I'm going to explain today in my topic. So academics first, very important. Every civil engineer has to have good ranks and participate in curriculum of civil engineering. Every subject is important. We should not leave any subject as choice or something. Though you want to become a construction professional, you have to learn all the subjects that we have. Don't think that because you want to work in construction, if you learn construction technology is enough. No, every civil engineer should have exposure to all the subjects that we learn. That is very important. Next most important thing is attendance. I see that most of the students nowadays, at least my memory as it goes, when I used to attend the classes, I don't remember abstaining from the class. Maybe one day, even due to health condition, I was not abstaining. But nowadays, I'll see that most of the students take these classes easy. So now I want to ask you, how many of you have attendance more than 90% in your class? Please put yes. Those who have attendance more than 90%. That's good, Stanley. Any more? Yeah, I see a lot of people. Anne Mary Wilson, so many people. That's really good. I appreciate. I definitely check this later. Now, I'll ask you another question. How many of you have attendance more than 80? Just type number 2 in the chat box. Number 2, more than 80. Type number 2 in the chat box. I'm not seeing anybody. What happened to Q&A? Nobody has more than 80%? Okay. So now I would like to tell you that attendance, being attentive in the class is very important. That's what I want to tell you. If you have a good teacher, you enjoy, understand, and note what he's telling, what you understood. If you have a bad teacher, then also you note what he talks in the class. Go back to home and check what he has taught. Of course, you are in the final year, at least now, but still there is a good time to make up whatever loss you would have had in the last 3 years. If you have not realized about the importance of attendance and attention, you should be 100% attentive in the class. Everything that is taught in the class is important. That's what, if you want to be a good civil engineer, you should learn. You should go prepared. Next is the lab. Every testing that is shown in the lab, you have to learn, whether it is cement, steel, soil, environment, any subject. All the laboratory tests you should understand very clearly, participate with interest in the lab test. Next is the internship. During the vacation, summer vacation or winter vacation, or even Sundays, you can spend some time. I'm sure in India, wherever you live, nearby some construction will be happening. Whether you are going for formal internship or not, you should go and observe what is happening in the construction. You can learn by observing. That is the advantage we civil engineers have. So anywhere, anytime we can observe things. You are traveling, you are on holiday, you are in a city, you are in a village, anywhere you can observe the things around. So we come across road that you travel to college. You can keep observing, understand what is the condition of the road, and refer to the books and see in which category that road falls into. Bridges or urban infrastructure or cities, housing, buildings, any building that you observe under construction, you can understand by observing itself. Next most important is sports. So I want to ask you here, how many of you spend at least an hour in some sport, physical exercise, exposing yourself to the sun? Oh, good. Only 2? Any more people? 3, 4 participants. Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. So a lot of you are going for sports. I always say that a good civil engineer should have exposure to sports, because we have to be having good stamina and good energy level, sustained, because we have to, any civil, even though I am a design engineer basically, I keep going to the sites. I spend the whole day climbing the 14-storied building through the steps, or 80 meters tower using the ladder. So we have to be fit, physically fit. Today also I do my treadmill because sports stadiums are closed. I do treadmill 1 hour. Sweat. We have to sweat and be very fit always. So sports also is important. Next is most important is newspaper. You have to at least read two newspapers, English and vernacular, local daily. How many of you read newspaper every day? This is also a question I want you to answer. Oh, that's good. I appreciate it. Yeah, some of you are reading newspaper. So you have to spend some time on reading the newspapers every day because civil engineers, we deal with civilians. So by reading newspaper, we understand the problems that are there around us and we should work for them. As a civil engineers, we have the opportunity to work for these societies and solving the problems. That is the advantage we civil engineers have. Next is the social cause. So while doing internship, you can also take up the problems of your locality and solve them. Give a solution, at least go and submit report to the corporation or the department, public health department, water problem, sewage problem, roads problem, or buildings problem. We can do a lot of things. We guide all this. So civil engineers have the opportunity to work for social causes. So we have to spread a message to the general society that civil engineers solve their problems. Now we are seeing doctors working for corona. Everybody is encouraging doctors. So similarly, if we civil engineers work, like now we see in West Bengal disaster, cyclone, and we had Kerala 2 years back, biggest cyclone and flooding. So we should take up these problems and try to understand what is causing those problems and how we can solve these problems. So that way we can expose ourselves to the society that we can solve the problems. So people come to civil engineers for solving the problems then. So this is a brief thing about requirements of civil engineers. So it is a professional challenge. We have to have training, as Nebu said in the beginning. Every civil engineer should be having at least a training of 6 months to 1 year, institutional or private or organizational training. It used to be there earlier, 20, 30 years back, 40 years back. There used to be compulsory internship like you have in architecture now. Architecture is a 5-year course, so they have 1 year internship compulsory. Whereas in civil engineering, we have 4 years, there is no internship. So I always suggest don't think of job immediately after 4 years. You try to go for an internship, paid internship also. Next, 60%. There is a huge scope actually for civil engineers. Please don't think that we don't have jobs. We are only not taking the jobs because we are not giving the enough confidence to the people that civil engineers can deliver. So most of our jobs are going to non-civil engineers because we are not ready to take up that assignment. We are not assuring the delivery of this project. So if you take up that challenge, you will be getting the job yourself. So civil engineering is the only profession which offers maximum scope for startups actually. You can be a startup yourself. Start building a house for somebody. That itself you can earn for yourself and make good contribution. But before that, you have to learn what are all the challenges in building construction, house construction. House construction is the most challenging thing for the civil engineers. It involves everything, plumbing, sanitary, painting, finishes, everything. And if you can deliver the best house, and they are a good civil engineer, and you don't have to think about your career. So another advantage of civil engineers, I always say that civil engineers have the best happiness, best satisfaction in the profession. I always want to define what is happiness. Is it a material benefit, or is it eternal, or is it psychological? How do you define happiness, joy, or enjoyment? Is watching a good movie happiness, or eating good food is happiness, or wearing best dress is happiness? What is happiness? How do you define? So I always say that civil engineers have the best opportunity to be eternally and psychologically most happy people because we can see what we deliver. When I drive from my home to my office every day, I see so many projects, or whenever I travel across the country, I see the structures designed by me. I can identify the towers, whether even in Kerala, across the state, all the telecom towers are designed by us, 50% in the country. Out of 5 lakh towers, 2.5 lakh towers I have designed. Transmission we have worked. Kerala Cochin shipyard I worked. And in Cochin I worked for waste management. So like that, civil engineers have the opportunity to work anywhere, and we are the only people. Like my nephew is there, who is an electronics engineer, who is working for Qualcomm, working on 5G technology. Probably he is the only man in my life whom I advise to join electronics, not civil. Otherwise, whoever asked me to advise which branch they should join, I always suggest you should join civil engineering, because I am the happiest man. I always want everyone who takes my advice to be happy. So I advise. But my nephew complains, why you have made me join electronics, because he's not happy. He says that I keep posting in my WhatsApp every week some project I have done, photograph and all. And he doesn't know what he's doing in 5G technology. What is his contribution to 5G, he doesn't know. So this is the satisfaction. Okay, initial days, you always worry about the job, but once you get the job, once you contribute, deliver, grow, then you need this kind of satisfaction. So I'm foreseeing that. So that is why I always say civil engineering is the best in terms of satisfaction. Knowledge you gain, you should be able to share. That gives you the best satisfaction and happiness. Competition, of course, we have unethical competitions are there, fees, conduct. This we are trying to solve as now through associations and things. And we have interdisciplinary professions like architecture, geotechnical engineering, electrical. We deal with all these people, mechanical people. Civil engineering is centric to the profession actually, any construction industry. So we have interdiscipline and multidiscipline. So I have in my office architects, I have geotechnical people, survey people, and electrical, mechanical. I deal with geology, I deal with public health engineering, air conditioning, lighting, acoustic, signage, landscape, and circulation. So these are all the disciplines we deal with. Anything that is connected with building or infrastructure. And statutory bodies, let us realize that engineering in our constitution is not defined. It is yet to be defined. So only National Building Code defines an engineer. Institution of Engineers is a royal charter. By giving that membership, you are recognized as an engineer. And the only third thing is local bodies like municipalities register engineers. So these are the only thing. But other associations, architects have a council of architects, chartered accountants are recognized, and lawyers are recognized, doctors are recognized, but not engineers. That is unfortunate. So it's a challenge. So it's a vicious circle. So we have to make quality engineers. This is to break the vicious circle. That's why I talk to all the students, though it is costing me time, but still I thought as a professional I should do this contribution. Motivate people to be the quality engineers. That is the first and foremost important thing. Then you become a quality professional. Then you get the good clients. Then if you get the good clients, you are paid well. If you are paid well, you can engage good engineers. So you can get more good engineers. So we'll make a positive cycle. Otherwise, we are in the negative cycle. If you are bad engineers, you are not delivering properly, you don't get better money. So you can't engage, you can't pay. So that is a negative side. Positive side means, so only thing that we all can do is we should become quality engineers. The steps I have explained. As he said, okay, if you see construction as a service sector, only 7% is there, but real estate contributes also to the construction industry, GDP. So overall, we have 20% of GDP civil engineers contributing. So by being better engineers, we'll give better lifestyle, we'll meet the better living needs and make better construction facilities. So we have to be motivated for that. So we deal with hydrology, we deal with irrigation, we deal with public health, drainage and water supply, we deal with environment. air pollution, effluent treatment, solid waste management, power generation, transmission and distribution, and communication. We deal with cellular towers and microwave towers. And we deal with disciplines of structural engineering, housing, highways, roads, and rural roads, and then railways, airports, ports and harbors, bridges. You can choose anything, and surveying, investigation as a profession. And then we have the industry, like heavy mining industry. We deal with aluminum mining, iron ore, or any mining. We deal with that, and mining industry, processing the ore. And then engineering industries, automobile engineering or pre-engineered structures we deal with, and processing industries, food processing, textile, all that small industries also. So we deal with everything that civilization requires. And we have a construction planning and management. We also deal with the materials, products, equipment, machinery that is required for construction, and flooring, tiles, stones. You can choose. You can become a material specialist also. And now the evolving industry, entertainment and leisure, tourism and entertainment. So we do the projects for tourism and entertainment also. And next most important is academics and research. Now I want to ask you a question. How many of you want to take up academics as a career? Teaching. I want you to answer yes or raise the hand. If anyone, oh, that's good. Only one person? This is a challenge I have. I go to so many colleges. I ask them, do you have, another question I want to ask you is, how many of you are happy with the faculty you have, whether it is quality or quantity? Oh, that's good. So you have a good faculty. Adila ji, convey my congratulations to your college, because most of the colleges I go, the students are not happy with the faculty, quality and quantity. That is under deployment of faculty, and quality also is a challenge. So, but still you have a good response. But I always say the people who complain about the faculty, you should take up the profession of academics, because we need good faculty in civil engineering to make good civil engineers. And research next. Anyone interested in research in civil engineering? Oh, good. Can you classify this list and give me a statistics after this? My questions, if you remember, Adila ji, can you classify and tell me these answers I've been asking? Probably with the video you can correlate the answers. Okay. So research also is very important. Research is not for getting PhD degree, please. Research is you should have urge to solve the problem, and you should take up that problem and solve it. That is the research. So the real researcher doesn't bother about earnings. So my professor told me research is the highest profession. In then comes academics, sacrificing level. Then comes the technocrat, what all I said, the engineer, structural, all that. Then comes the administrators. Then comes the politician. So these 5 levels, layers of career, if you choose. So if you want to be the best career, have the best career contribution to the society, that is research. That means you sacrifice your worldly benefit and solve the problems of the world. That is research. Next is academics. You sacrifice again worldly benefits and share the knowledge to the people. That is the second profession. Third is engineering, what we do. Fourth is administration. That means you don't sacrifice much. You take the power and enjoy the power. Politician, that is the least effort, highest benefits. So this is my professor told me. So I keep sharing this. This 32 years back, my professor told me. I keep remembering. Another important thing for all of you I want to share is, this is also told by my professor, you should make the habit of writing. Whatever you hear, you should write. So that's why whenever I call for any webinar, I'll put a note at the end. Please bring a pen and pad to write what I talk. So that's also very important. Please make it a habit. Even today, I go to any webinar or class, I'll make it a point. I'll show you all my diaries where I have noted what all I hear. That's very important. Because when you write only, you register what you heard. Otherwise, if you don't write, you're not converting into your memory. So just hear and you can forget. So that's why it's very important to note. Okay? So career options. You have design, planning, tendering, that is called planning department, estimation, QS, costing, QS and costing, construction technology and management, construction supervision, quality control and assurance, technical audits, so investigation, geotechnical engineering, topographic survey, and you have consulting, like I am a consultant, and IT applications, augmented reality, GIS, AM and FM. You know what is AM and FM? That is creating the layers like smart cities. It is very important. CAD, BPO, ITEST, and valuation. Valuation is another profession. You can become an entrepreneur like a contractor or builder. You can become a project manager, and you can join government departments. I rate MES and NHA as one of the best, of course, after the railways in the government, central government. CPWD comes next. Then state departments. In state, you have irrigation, PWD and all. And then Panchayat Raj. These are all the departments you can work. And private, you have consulting firms like our company, infra companies and project management companies, and public sector. In India, we have got one of the best procurement policies like BHEL, Power Grid Corporation, NTPC, Engineers India Limited. These are all the best public sector. And Kerala also, I know one, Kerala State Technological KITCO, yeah. So there is a company, state government owned consulting firm. So like that, you can choose any of the jobs, and you first, for all this, you have to be the best civil engineer. Please remember that, underline. So we provide line estimate, project feasibility, appraisal, detailed project reports. We do investigation, we do the design development, we do the, in investigation, windrows is another thing, construction engineering, technical sanctions, and procurement or bidding, construction, and facility management. Now, facility management is evolving profession because large facilities that are constructed have to be maintained. So that is done by civil engineers again. So now I am coming to the final thing. We have these challenges in civil engineering. Integrity. What is integrity of an engineer? An engineer has to be an engineer in his mind, in his body, in his work, in his commitment. He has to be an engineer, and he has to do engineering. That is the integrity of an engineer. Look for jobs where you do only engineering, not politics, not management, only engineering. Next is the leadership. I have a book written by a consultant in California who says that the engineers are so passionate, they forget the leadership. So we have to be good leaders, civil engineers. It's very much important because we have to manage the labor. We deal with a typical site of 300 crore project will have, can you imagine how many labor will be there at the site? 3,000 working labor. 1 + 1, if you take also, you are managing a township of 6,000 labor camp. Imagine their health, imagine their food requirements, imagine any problems like this. It is the engineers who are blamed if we don't manage properly. So we have to be good leaders also. Managerial abilities. Every day, we have to manage the work, construction planning, construction deployment. And the biggest problem we have is professional ethics. So I give a talk on ethics also actually, parallel to this topic. So we have to be ethical, respect the ethical values. How many of you, now I'll ask you one question when I talk about ethics, 2 questions. First question is, How many of you respect the traffic signal, whether traffic is there or not? When there is a red signal, you have to stop. That's really good. A lot of people are following traffic rules. That is very important. Yeah, I am very happy. I am very happy with the response, because that is the first principle of ethics. This is written by N. Vittal, who was the former CVC, Chief Vigilance Commissioner. He wrote a book. He said that everybody thinks that all are corrupt in India, but that's not correct. Only 5% are corrupt, and there are 5% positions in the government which can give you opportunity to be corrupt. So this 5% will go and stay in that 5%. And public are exposed to this 5%. So they think 100% are corrupt. So that's why let's not think that we are all corrupt. We have 95% people like you. Now you said you are following signal. Second question I want to ask you. How many of you, when you go and fill a petrol in a two-wheeler, 50 rupees or 100 rupees fuel, ask for a bill when you pay the cash? Whether it is a medical shop, petrol station, or any shop that you go and buy, do you ask for a bill? Oh, Hare Krishna, good. So these are all very important, because these are the sources of corruption actually. If you are not asking for the bill, you are also corrupt. That's what CVC said. Because when you are paying something to buy something, there is a tax involved in it. He is collecting tax from you. But if he is not giving you the tax bill, that means he is not paying the tax. That is the challenge. So ethics, these are part of ethics, So next important, central to our problem is public trust. So we have to create public trust. That's why I said social cause and all. Civil engineers have to work for social cause. So these are the challenges. For that, as my contribution, I started a trust. Apart from my livelihood profession, I started a trust called Smart Infrastructural Engineering Services Trust, to help students and civil engineers perform better, be better engineers. As part of that commitment only, I interact with students to motivate them to be good civil engineers. So we do internships, we provide projects, we do skill development, we do startup incubation, we provide apprenticeship. So these are all the things we provide. And student benefits and institutions, we sign with institutions also. And so this is called simulation, what I'm doing now. So I'll interact with the students, understand the quality of the student. So I form an impression about the college by this interaction. My questions that I have asked will give me an idea of the status of your institution. And a fest, we organize fest in the colleges. So you can take lead to, this is to help leadership and management and teamwork among students. Apart from our education, these are also important. Learning teamwork, learning fellowship, learning leadership and management. Next, LEAP. That is what I give lectures in the lockdown period. I have given 32 lectures of LEAP, Leadership in Engineering Advancements and Practices. So we provide these lectures to the students to make them industry ready. Next is the HARP. That is, we sign MOUs and provide internships to the college students and placement assistance and then project guidance. Incube is to incubate startups. We are also angel investors if required for the startups. And warriors, this is the smart warriors. We make students realize that we should raise our hand and raise the flag against any wrong thing that's going in civil engineering and make good show of civil engineers. So these are all the things we do. We have done so many fests. I will not run this video. I can share this video or it is there in our Facebook page, Smart Infrest. Today you please like our page, Smart Infrest, so that you are connected with us and we can interact through. So these are all the topics we give lectures to the students. and this is the LEAP. And the internships we provide to so many students. 300 students we gave last year, and this year also we are giving 300 students. And incubation of startups, and so this is the smart barriers we have done. That is, roads were studied by the students, and we have given a report to the corporation about that. And these are all the projects I have done as an engineer. So it's not that I am only running this trust. I am a consultant. We do projects worth 4,000, 5,000 crores every year as consultants, and we do infrastructure, buildings, and different kinds of projects. Metro rail also we have done, and townships. We do housing, large townships. Right now we are doing in Bangalore and Pune also. This is Cochin Shipyard. Because you are from Kerala, this is a project we did in Cochin, and so many projects we did for Nuclear Power Corporation and defense housing, and townships. We master planned the townships, and Kodankulam, Kanyakumari, we did the township design, and economic cities we do, and residential buildings, apartments, high-rise buildings also we have done. And so this is all the projects we have done, actual photographs, and high-rise buildings. This is a 20-storied building, office building. AP Secretariat is done by us, present Secretariat, office building, IT. These are all challenging domes and structures we have done. So yeah, this is Trivandrum, RBI building also we have done. Right now also we have got some 2 inquiries in Trivandrum and Cochin for IT building. So we keep doing this kind of institutional buildings, and defense construction, commercial buildings, industrial also we did. So being an engineer, we have opportunity to expose. This is Tamil Nadu common effluent treatment plants for 7 districts we have done. So that kind of, and power plants we have done. So wide range of projects we had the opportunity to do. So that's how I got exposure to talk about project delivery, project procurement, and project design, master planning, all these aspects. So this is a aluminum processing industry, mining side. For Vedanta, we have done challenging structures, and this is a tobacco processing, and this is a engineering pre-engineered building, Kirby, and this is food processing buildings. All categories. We have the IT buildings. We have done about 40 million square feet of IT building, offices. So if you are a good civil engineer, you can get exposure to do all these kind of projects, and by seeing them coming up as we envision is the best satisfaction we can get. This is in Bangalore, 2 million square feet of office building, and this is in Tripura, Agartala. So name the city, I have a project done there. So that is the satisfaction I derive today. And the institutions, engineering colleges, universities, schools, these are all the institutional buildings. And this is the schools actually, Tata, universities. And towers, I said, this kind of towers, whatever you see, is our design, you know. FM towers, now also we are doing in Kerala. And transmission towers, challenging towers, and sports facilities. We do the stadiums also, and indoor stadiums, entertainment, and commercial. These are all the auditoriums. These are all theme parks. In Hyderabad, we have done about 6 theme parks. And in Chennai, we did Snow Kingdom, and Mumbai also we did the Snow Kingdom, and Laser Gallery, the Snow World, and auditoriums, multiplexes, theaters, and interiors also. We did interiors for offices, academies, and all. So this is my background. So with that background, I came to you today. And if you have any questions, you can connect with me through Facebook, like Smart Infresh, or you can always communicate with me. And I thank Construction Philosophy for giving me this opportunity, and Adilaji College, giving me this opportunity to interact with your students. I'm very happy with the quality of the students. The response that I got for my questions is very good. I rate probably one college I remember in Indore who were on par with you. So far, if I had gone to 150 colleges or 200 colleges, your college probably is the second with equal response. So in Indore, there is one college, private college, they recruit based on JEE advanced actually. So they recruit the students, their quality was also good. And today I have seen your college. So though I could not see all the students, but from the response I can understand they're very active. I appreciate you for giving this response, and probably will like to meet sometime post-COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Surya Prakash. I'm sure all the participants, all the students are very happy with this lecture. Indeed, the session was truly insightful. We have a couple of the faculties from FISAT present participating in this webinar.
Okay.
So we will give them an opportunity to talk as well later after the session.
Okay.
And I would suggest if you have any, you can raise your hand if you have any doubts or concerns with regards to what Mr. Surya Prakash have narrated here. I'm sure you would be having a lot, but obviously there's a factor that's there are some factors that hold you back from asking questions. I don't really. You should come up. You should come up with your concerns. You should ask questions. You should have doubts. Somebody has raised his hand. Mr. Kaushik has raised his hand. Let's allow him to talk. Kaushik, you can ask.
Hello.
Yeah, Kaushik, you can ask.
Sir, I have a common question that all civil engineering students have to ask.
Okay.
Sir, what do you think is the best to do after BTech degree? That is it to work and gain experience, or it is going for higher studies? Which is better?
Yeah, this is also an advice given by one professor to me. So advice given by one of the professors when I was studying was, you always work for a year as an intern or some job to understand what is the industry and what it expects before you go for a post-graduation. But for every civil engineer, I feel post-graduation is important. In fact, this is also told by one of the professors again, I can't forget, that if you are studying engineering undergraduation, is like you are learning vocabulary of engineering. If you are doing post-graduation, you are learning to write a sentence. If you are doing PhD or research, you have learned to write a story. So you decide what you want to be. You just want to stop with vocabulary, you join job with undergraduation. You want to mature as an engineer, you do some specialization post-graduation. Not immediately, not necessarily immediately, but those who have a pressing need for starting a job after undergraduation, you can also do the job, but plan post-graduation sometime, at least offline course or something. That's my advice.
Okay, sir, one more question.
Yeah.
Is it good to do higher studies in abroad or in India? Which is better?
Never decide where you have to do post-graduation. First decide what you want to be.
Okay.
This is also advised by senior to me. I followed sincerely. I'm benefited. Like, you should think of what you want to be at the age of 60.
Okay.
If you can foresee, you decide you want name and fame, you want to earn money, or you want balance of these two at the age of 60.
Okay, sir.
So you decide that goal first, then draw the path for that goal, and then work towards that. I mean, I have seen many students, they come and ask me, Sir, I want to do MS in US. Which branch is better? No, that's a very wrong question. First decide where you want to specialize, which area you want to specialize first.
Okay.
Then that specialization, you'd see which university offers good training in that specialization and choose that university.
Okay, sir.
But never decide university and work for it, okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I believe that this lecture could be a good fuel for your future endeavors.
Yeah.
And we have Engineer Shaichun also here. So he's going to narrate something about, how important is a training post-engineering training for a professional. I would welcome Engineer Shaichun Nair to share that.
Yeah, thank you, Nebu. Thank you, Surya Prakash sir, for a very, very enlightening lecture. And thank you, FISAT, for organizing such a program. I think almost all the points are covered by Surya Prakash sir itself. So how much time can I take, Nebu? 10 minutes, okay?
10 minutes is okay.
Yeah, so I'll just go through. Now, Surya Prakash sir, what he did, he discussed what an engineer is supposed to be. Okay, what are the basic qualities required? He explained it in a very good manner. And since, we have some industry background, I'll just want to give some idea what industry is expecting from us and what are the points to be noted in that. So, this science and technology, the difference, or that engineering and technology difference, I'm not repeating. He explained in a very nice manner. First of all, the main point is now if somebody is asking you what course you are doing, or then your answer will be what? I'm studying civil engineering. But once after completion of the course, you are getting a certificate. It shows BTech, Bachelor of Technology. So we should know the basic difference between that civil engineering and technology. The basic difference is applications of that knowledge or engineering, that is called technology. That he explained in a very nice manner, right? So that is the first point. And there are some basis for comparison. I think almost all the points is covered by him. So I am not repeating. So this is the basic thing. Application of knowledge is, application of your engineering or science is technology. So the industry demands that part. Also, we should understand some differences between knowledge and wisdom. Now, your prime and foremost responsibility is to gain knowledge, which you are doing right now. It is very, very important. Now you are actually gaining knowledge from your college. So you should have a very good knowledge. But a small difference between knowledge and wisdom. Again, application of your knowledge is wisdom. Just after completion of your course, if you are going to some sites, if you are deployed, then there are some differences between, you have to have a strategy how to apply your knowledge, how to transform that knowledge into wisdom. So knowledge means what? Acquisition of information and facts. But wisdom is application of that. And if you have knowledge, then it will give you an ability to say whether that fact is true or false. But if you have wisdom, then what will happen? If you have an idea, if somebody is giving you an idea or somebody is giving you a problem in real life, that means at site, then you can judge whether that idea is right or wrong. This is a basic fundamental difference. And knowledge can be acquired through education. But as Surya Prakash sir discussed, this wisdom cannot be simply acquired through education. It needs some training. It needs some vigorous coaching and all. So here you can see some photos. Just a comparison, just for an interest. Knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. That is knowledge, basic knowledge. Wisdom is knowing not to put into a fruit salad. So that is a basic difference. And knowledge is knowing what to say. Wisdom is knowing when to say. So immediately after completion of your course, if you are going to, if you are trying for a job and all, actually industry what industry needs? Industry needs skilled people. So I'll tell you some positive facts also, and that also he mentioned. The 20% of GDP is from construction industry in India, and in the post-COVID situation, actually, in India, construction industry will be the largest employer. That was the study by 2022. There may be little changes, but as always, this pandemic situation or this worst condition, this will not exist for a long time. So let us always hope for the best, and 100% situations will change. This COVID situation also we can survive. So the previous scenario, 2022 in India, the construction industry will be around 70 million employment is going to come. And also engineer our basic role, you know, all the human basic needs, roti, kapada, makan, food, shelter, and clothing, right? So as soon as shelter is there, he also mentioned around 2 crore houses are coming in India. That means under some other plans. So our scope is there. And infrastructure boom also. Around 200 airports, he mentioned, so many metros, so many roads. The infrastructure is also booming in India. For all those things, we need good engineers. But the problem is, as I mentioned, it's skill gap. Construction industry always prefers skilled engineers. So, and you know, now the scenario, especially after COVID, you know, nowadays, no interviews are little bit less. I am not, making you worry, but I am just giving how we can overcome that. So if you could be able to bridge that, you know, skill gap, then our skill gap or your now presently your academics and your, you know, industry, if you can bridge that gap, then it is very, very important actually. And for that, what we are supposed to do, an industry academic collaboration is required. See, now I really appreciate the organizers and Construction Philosophy magazine for inviting Surya Prakash sir, because he have given a very good lecture, right? So, and he mentioned industry academy, how we can collaborate. So now also you can do that. You should get a industry exposure. Then only you will come to know what is happening outside, because we all did our degrees, and during study our main importance will be to get some marks, to get some first class or honors or something like that. So but no after that your performance matters. So industry can contribute, university can contribute education. Industry want that education to convert to a talented people. So industry and this academic collaboration is very, very important and vital. In my experience also, I did so many interviews. The thing is that they do have some while doing interview, they don't have the basic idea, and you don't believe it is not from Kerala, it is from actually other state. When we asked a simple question, a practical question, how much is the weight of one bag of cement? They don't even know that also after completing a course, you know, that is the situation. So why he during the studies he never thinking that I am going to use that cement or I am not going to use that concrete. And very, very importantly, you know, I discussed industry and education as having a small gap. We want to bridge that gap. For that, a systematic coaching is required. You know, what is the advantage of that? After that coaching, we will realize that, yeah, now I am ready for my action. So we will get some tips from very good, experts. Earlier, there was a concept. That is, what is that concept? Learn from mistakes. But now we don't have time to learn from our own mistakes. So better is learn from others' mistakes. So we all did this same engineering maybe after maybe before 25, 30 years. Surya Narayan sir, Nebu, everybody is having lots of experience. Your teachers is having lots of experience. So just ask them, interact with them, and by some training or some coaching or by inviting some good speakers to your college, organize such programs, attend some training programs, then gain knowledge. Then you will get that, no, I have some additional hands with me. I'm ready for the industry. That is actually very, very important. Now I'll tell you some practical related things. This gentleman actually he invented cement in 1824, right? After that, our construction industry basically got all the new technology cement, and we can do construction very in an easy manner. And one more most important thing is, I am telling that no, we all civil engineers or you civil engineering students, we are very lucky. Why? We are dealing with concrete. Concrete after water, it is the second most consumed item in the world. If something has to come to second position, means that should have that much properties. So as Nebu and Surya Prakash sir mentioned, no, if you go to site, you can see they are mixing something. Ultimately, end of the day, they are making concrete, which is the after water, which is the second most consumed item in the world. So that concrete requires care. That concrete requires attention. So you are now getting information about aggregate. You are doing sieve analysis. You are doing so many things. But the practical aspects, if you can think that right now, which I never did during my studies, then it will be very useful. Then you feel that the topic is very interesting. You start, I'll say you not liking, I'll say you start loving the subject. So that will give you that will make you a real passionate engineers. Also, there are so many aspects regarding concrete. So see, now we know concrete is gaining strength. Okay, everything we know. Immediately after your course, if you are going to a site and they did some scaffolding, shuttering work and all, a small house. Just imagine a small house. So you are an engineer. Your neighbor is coming to me. Okay, our concrete is over. When can I remove my shuttering? It's a practical related question. When can I remove my shuttering? So, what answer will you say? See, they have their own practical experience. Years and years, they are following some methods. They have masons, everything. Maybe they are checking our knowledge. That also. We know concrete is gaining strength and everything, but we should have that wisdom to tell them that your concrete should attain 70% strength. Then you can remove that shutter. Then that will be good for the structure. So, no, this is very important. And also, understanding concrete. Concrete is a family of materials. Now you are studying each and every member in detail in your course. So my request will be to have some connections with the industry right now, if possible. And I came to know that KTU also, this internship is a must. And when I was in Ambuja Cements, I was the head for Ambuja Cements since last 10 years. And I visited the Kaleswaram project, which Surya Prakash sir mentioned. It was the irrigation project. I spent almost 2 days there. So we did some contribution to that project also. And you try to understand the applications of this in a very good manner. So now so many webinars are going on, and whenever you are doing an internship, don't waste your time. Now I used to have so many calls. Sir, can you give me a certificate that we came to your office, we visited your plant and also and so. I said I will never do. Why they are see, you study and you enjoy and study. That will be a better thing, better combination. How you will get enjoyment, how you will get satisfaction. When you have some interest, then you will show it will be, you will enjoy and you will learn things in a much better manner. So that will be my advice. Use your internship very wisely. One more thing I'll just mention. In your syllabus, it is very important that capillary pore. I'm not going to the details. If you want, we can have a session on the technical session on this in detail, because we are doing that. But what I am trying to say is that we know engineering or science, we know capillary pores are very bad, and this table is also in the IS code. We know, as a part of knowledge, we know Abraham's law. That means strength is inversely proportional to water cement ratio. That means water cement ratio increases, strength decreases. We know that. But at real scenario, if you go to so many individual house projects, I am not telling the big projects because they have so many engineers and all. This gentleman is adding water. How he is controlling the water? And though we are having all the knowledge about material and everything, this gentleman is spoiling our concrete. So if you have wisdom, you can guide him, and he may ask some practical questions. how can I measure the water and all? So you, in the left side of the screen, you can see, you clean a clear box and you ask them to pour water. And in ready mix plants, they have automation for that. So this is called wisdom. This wisdom we actually require. And one more thing, this sieve analysis. We do sieve analysis as college. When I did that in my college, I was honestly saying I was not at all interested. Now I am very, very interested. See, my blood report came. Like that, I am seeing this report. See, just by observing that values, so many things has to come to your mind. Whether I have to accept this sand, whether I have to reject this sand, whether I could be able to design a proper mix with this, so many things. And if you see the single slide, if you are interested, you can think minimum about half an hour. That much scope is there for this gradation and all. Now I'll ask a simple riddle related to concrete. That is, where we need less, we use more. Where we need more, we use less. Where we need less, we use more. Where we need more, we use less. These are the two applications. Since I am not able to see you, I am not asking a question to you. Mixing time. See, there are textbooks say so many water cement ratio, and practically it is not happening. To control mixing, we are adding more water. And for curing, actually mixing, limited water is required, provided if you are getting workability, but we are adding more water. And while curing and protection, we need more water, but we are using less, and sometimes curing is not happening. So we regularly read the news, means our textbooks, and we will get a knowledge that curing is essential. Curing is essential, but our wisdom should be there. Suppose if scarcity of water is there, what we will do? That is what I told. If somebody is coming to you with an idea, sir, we don't have water, the availability of water is in big trouble. So what we will do for curing? That is what I call wisdom. That is what you want to have. So immediately you can say, if water is not there, cover it with a plastic sheet. So that, to tell that, somebody is asking, I am going to put a plastic sheet. To judge whether it is right or wrong, you should have wisdom, right? Again, you can see a concrete mixer. No, this is what is happening. Everything is there in the textbook. We all are having knowledge, but actually at site, this is what is happening, and this is actually very, very dangerous also. So when we interacted with people, I always used to ask, what are the problems? So generally, if I am asking this question with engineering college students, I used to get the answer, this uncle is not having safety issue. Of course, it is very good that you are aware about safety, but my eyes mainly will go to safety part first, as well as this also. And you can see what concrete is this. If this is going to the structure, what will happen? How we can make wonderful structures with this? How we civil engineers will get respect if we are producing concrete like this? Ultimately, as Surya Prakash sir mentioned, it is we civil engineers, we are ultimately responsible. And you see this mixer machine. The age of this mixer machine will be near about my grandfather's age. So whether it can produce a good concrete, no, it's doubt. And for this stupid concrete, they know that measuring slump is important. You see the concrete is what condition of concrete, and see here they have put a slump cone just to show. This is called show off, just to show that, yeah, we are taking slump. No, civil engineers, as a part of ethics, Surya Prakash sir explained in detail, we should have the basic thorough knowledge, as well as, no, we have to judge. In this situation, my question is, in this situation, if your concrete is like this, what suggestion will you give? That is very important. If somebody is inviting you to a site, then what you will do? That is wisdom. That is not knowledge. That is the application part again. And if you are not following, this is a picture from Kerala. And civil engineers or technocrats, we need to have innovative. This is not the actual innovation which we require. You can see the photo. Can anybody tell what happened here? No. See, this house, they have problems with leakage. What they did, they covered it just like a petrol pump. The entire area they covered with sheet. This is not the innovation which is expected from a civil engineer. This is not the innovation which is expected from a civil engineer. I am repeating. So, if they are having some problem, we have to guide them properly, and we have to anticipate. If we see, I have shown one picture. In that picture, they are adding water carelessly. They don't. They are not measuring water. They are just adding. In that case, the capillary pore. I have shown a table. Since time is not there, I am not explaining. If your water cement ratio is more than 0.7, that means for a bag, if you are adding more than 35 liter of water, then your capillary pore in that concrete will not get blocked forever. That means your concrete is porous. If your concrete is porous, any moment of time, water can penetrate through that if there is a connection, and it will come out as a leakage. So we have to be proactive. We engineers have to be proactive. We have to discuss correct practices, how we can make a good mix. So this also is very important, and you will get some idea if you connect your academics and industry. So it is a very good opportunity. Now I cannot go back to your step. If God is permitting, giving me an opportunity like this, then what I'll do, I will try to connect with that. For that, to help you, all are here. Okay, we all will support you, and always remember, life is all about survival of the fittest. Together we can, and we will. Okay, so wish you all the success, and I am just asked to give you a brief about industry. So I am repeating industry, and the main complaint from industry is that there is a skill gap is there. So to avoid that skill gap, coaching, attending seminars, inviting experts is very, very important and essential. Do that, you will become a good engineer, and there will not be any issue in getting any job and all. And Surya Prakash sir's one initiative is there. Same way, we are also having an initiative, DH Academy. For any internship inquiry, any support, you can contact me. We will try to help you in what we can do, the best thing that we are ready to do for you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Engineer Shaiji Nair, for this enlightened speech. Dear participants, we Construction Philosophy have been initiating a lot of measures to develop a link, bridge the gap between the industry and the institutions. Both of them had mentioned in detail about the gap, the big gap between the institution and the industry. The industry, of course, as per the recent polls, it states that the recent survey says that 80% of the engineers in India are not fit for a job. So we have to overcome that. In order to overcome that, we have to have programs which would enhance the capability, the skills of an aspiring engineer. It's not like the olden days when you go to the site after your studies, you go to the site and start the business over there. You have to be very, very competent in this era where you have faced a big pandemic situation here, wherein all the companies are trying to cut down their employees, and in such a scenario, very competent engineers would be chosen for the industry. So you all have to be very competent. You all have to upscale your abilities, and you have to learn new methodologies, new softwares that are available in the market. Basically, it's not like the previous era, like you work with a small calculator. I remember, in fact, Engineer Surya Prakash and Engineer Shaiji Nair also would agree with me. When we started our career, we had a small, that too actually, I don't know how many of you have used a scientific calculator also. With the normal basic calculator, we used to calculate we used to do major calculations. So now the situation has changed. The industry demands a lot of software updations. So please be updated. Construction Philosophy has a lot of programs for you. We have been initiating many programs, but unfortunately, due to the COVID situations, we were not able to visit the colleges. And in fact, we had visited FISAT a few months ago. We had given you a motivational speech. Our Executive Editor Divya Divakar has given you a motivational speech, and I believe that also would have benefited you. So we have much more for you. So please visit our Construction Philosophy's web pages. Please visit our Facebook pages, like our pages, get connected with us, and subscribe to our magazine so that you can read a lot of articles with regards to technology and the construction industry as a whole. We cover a lot of segments, including we have an exclusive segment for the students, which is called Campus Voice, wherein we portray, wherein we feature a campus, and also we have Young Engineer segment, in which we feature an engineer, a young engineer's achievement, and we have startup features, and we have a very interesting feature which is called Learn from Failures. I remember Engineer Shaijin Nair has mentioned something about wisdom and knowledge. Like, we don't have enough time to learn from our own mistakes. So we have very limited period as an engineer or a professional. So we must, a wise man learns from others' mistake. So the initiative that we have taken to feature this particular segment called Learn from Failures. Initially, of course, we had a lot of restrictions because as many of them, many engineers still, they are not willing to celebrate their failures. See, the same way as we celebrate the success, we should be able to celebrate your failure also. And you have to address your failures and broadcast it. You have to have that kind of a vision. You have to open up yourself for broadcasting your failures also, so that the upcoming engineers, so that the next generation would learn from it, and then they would have a solution. See, if I broadcast my experience of a failure, you as a listeners, you would have a solution tomorrow for it. I'm sure about it. So that's an interesting segment which you have to read. And for the time being, I have published few of our magazine online, which you can refer to. And we have an exclusive offer for the FISAT students. It starts from today, this evening, 5 o'clock. And we are giving you a good discount for subscription. Please try to avail that facility and take advantage of all this, whatever we bring in. And we have other programs also. We have other plans to bring in many professionals like Engineer Suri Prakash and Engineer Shaijin Nair. And our intention is to connect you with the industry. So during your studies itself, if you are able to connect to the industry, and then your employment is through invitation. There is no campus placement required. There is no interviews required, nothing. It's through invitation. I have many experiences like that personally. And I remember, my first project after graduation, I was appointed to a site, and the moment I took charge as a site engineer, I realized that I was actually appointed as the in charge of the whole project. You know how embarrassing, how difficult the situation would be. And of course, I had my teachers always supporting me. The way your teacher supports you, actually, it's very interesting to have, when Engineer Suri Prakash asked about how satisfied are you with your faculty, and many of you raised your hands, and many of you said, yes, that is very interesting, and that is, you guys are very lucky to have such good faculty. And in fact, we all were fortunate to have such good teachers, and that helped me in my career to overcome such big challenges in my life. So all of you, I wish all of you would get such kind of wonderful opportunities, and I wish you all to become good engineers, good inventors, and I wish you all the success. I would like to ask Dr. Undi Karata to speak a few words on the session. Dr. Unikata?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Good morning, Nebu, and
Good morning.
good morning to all my students who are attending the program here. And I was really happy, to see an online event happening in association with construction philosophy today. So it was really good. In fact, Sir's presentation was really good. I'm sure I was also motivated by the examples he used and the kind of work that is going on in India. So it gave a fresh perspective into the construction industry in India, I would say. That was my takeaway from that seminar. And I'm thankful to Shaiju there also, because he's being very active in taking online sessions, and I could see a lot of programs on behalf of Indian Concrete Institute being posted in their group also. And construction philosophy, Nebu sir, you have done a great job by connecting with us. It's a great opportunity for the students to connect with people in industry, listen to them, and to get a positive feel after listening to all of them, because only if you have a positive feel about your profession, good feel of it, you will be able to go ahead and make the best out of it. So I'm sure this seminar was really a good opportunity for them to understand the various aspects of the profession. Thank you so much for the time and energy you have put in. So that's it from my side. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Unikata. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you all the participants for participating in this session. We wish you good luck. Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Sudu Prakash. Thank you, Engineer Shaiju Nair. Thank you, Adila.